those 5 seconds weren't enough to make you cry, then the rest of this video is me telling you why I'm crying right now.
Okay, for real this time. The first Call of Duty game I ever liked was Black Ops 2. I was at a friend's house, playing split-screen gun game on Hijacked against bots. I was 10 at the time. It meant my mom had to take me, but a trip home from EB Games, and I had myself an old copy of Black Ops 1 for the Wii. But a month later, and my birthday came, with Advanced Warfare and a new PS4. I was obsessed. I exclusively used SMGs, and I hated skill-based matchmaking. Getting steamrolled by a dude jetpacking around the map with a BAU 27 was the first time I ever cried at a multiplayer video game. I used to get so mad, I didn't even break controllers. No. Okay, there was this wooden chair in my room, and I would claw the living shit out of it. Chunks of wood would be lying on the floor. I remember one day, my mom came into my room, she looked to my left, and it had a blanket over it, but you could see what was under that, just mangled with that blanket over it. She looked back at me and was like, what is this? How did this happen? Did you do this? I didn't even know how to respond. I didn't know what to do. This was the first ever Call of Duty sniping montage I remember having watched. It was the Apocalypse Teamtage by Legacy, just a simple compilation of clips synced to music, and I had no idea what to make of it. I didn't know it was possible to do half the things that they were doing, let alone with a sniper rifle, but all I could think in that moment was that it was fucking cool. That it made me want to play some of these older games that they were playing and do something similar. But I had to settle for what I had, so Advanced Warfare. I quickly started putting snipers on all my classes. Learning quickscoping came first. And actually, no, landing a fucking shot came first. Moving targets became a bit of a problem for me when I was starting out. I had to resort to staying in my scope for long periods of time, dragging across the screen to track targets, but to get quickscoping, I had to watch others play. My first favorite was FaZe Rain. You see, AW wasn't exactly popular at the time, so he mainly played Black Ops 2 and did a lot of trick shotting. I never got very good at trick shotting. I had to just watch people snipe normally, okay? And so m.a.d became my new favorite. He was okay at trick shotting, but when it came to sniping, any game or lobby he played in, he was in control. He had this video where he went 30-0 sniping in a free-for-all. I would come back to this video every day after school, watching again and again to see anything I may have missed the last time. Take this for example. Here he stands still, centers his crosshair on the enemy before aiming in to shoot them. The key to quickscoping, and sorry, I don't think you understood what you just saw, so let me go back, okay? That was a quad feed. 4 kills fast enough to fit all on the screen at once, the most basic form of sniping clip out there, and if I was gonna make a montage of my own, I was gonna have to hit a quad feed for myself. So 6 months later, and I hit a quad feed with a sniper, and yeah, if you can't already tell, this is that very one. And the first ever video I posted to YouTube. It's crazy to think that this was what started everything you're seeing right now, considering this that you're seeing, but yeah, that was it. I'm sorry, what was that? What, it's split? Okay, so let me get this straight, okay? I got the 4 kills, but because someone else got a kill in between that, my quad feed suddenly doesn't count? But that has nothing to do with me! No. No, I get it. No, I see what this is actually. No, you're just an ass. You're an asshole. Yeah. That's what you sound like right now. Oh, you're gonna bring up the chair. You wanna bring up the chair? Okay, well you can take my chair and shove its leg right up your foot. It appears as though I still had a lot of learning to do. Then I saw an edit without any clips. I can't remember what I first felt when watching the montage you're seeing now, but the edit itself and the text it contained is really what made it so memorable for me. It read like a poem. Shed no tears, as all that will rain are the ashes. You just wanted to say goodbye. However, the cold cripples your tongue. All that remain are the echoes of disparity and my rage. It's hard to know entirely what the poem was alluding to, only the impression it left off, but the door closing on those words, the title, tells us that there is a meaning, just not one we were meant to understand right now. It was after that video I started getting really into editing. To me, montages were more than just syncing clips to music. Nah, it was all about color correction, fitting colors to that music, warping the time with velocity, and zooms to give those shots flow and impact. Cinematics were put between clips to keep that flow going without breaking immersion. These black bars make shit even more cinematic, and if we add 3D and a little bit of text, give it that little cherry on top. Oh, I'm 2D. I can't see any of this shit. Editing can be split into two different categories. There's edits. These are more artsy, like what we saw before. And then there's episodes, which place focus on clips. I'm gonna be talking about these for now. A lot of people were fans of the editors in FaZe, like Barker, and Mancat, who edited the first montage I ever saw. Some of my favorite, though, were in Red Reserve, who were kind of like the FaZe Little League. All of Red's players hit insane clips, but their editors were like the producers to those lyrics. Eben used a lot of trap music, time warping, motion blur, lighting, drugs, probably. Unchained liked Biggie. He got it going on. He'd render his edits at a lower frame rate, which was actually kinda smart. I mean, if everything's at a low frame rate, you can't exactly frame drop when you slow down anymore. Dreams might have been my favorite out of that bunch though. He always made these stylized intros for every video, but even Anomaly, my favorite of his, is just that. It plays almost like the end of a coming-of-age movie, looking back on the best of times these games had to offer. And in hindsight, Anomaly 3 had some of the best clips hit by FaZe Blue, who was already one of the best to ever do it. Yeah, that's a 6 on head. And yes, that is Donald Glover in the background. This video is getting nuked. All these clips are insane even now, but it's the way Dreams uses scribbles, lens flares, that postcard, that scope motion tracking. It's the little stuff here that went a long way without getting in the way. You know, I doubt they knew it when they were making this thing, but all that shit made for a video that felt equally as nostalgic watching it back then as it is going back to it now. I wasn't kidding with what I said earlier, by the way. The music from these montages means I make no money on this video, so, put the money in the bank! On a completely unrelated note, though, if there's any song that's gonna get this thing nuked, it's this one. If we want to talk the best edits out there though, Clockwork 4 can barely even be called one. All of the clips you're seeing here are real, some of the best Counter-Strike esports moments, but beyond that, none of what you're seeing is in-game footage.
Look in my eyes, tell me your tale, do you see the road? I'm out to my soul, tell me the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face. All of that green and yellow that drip in your eyes is telling, tell your demise, I'm to my side, to push back the ceiling and push back the feelings I had to the side.
This is nikkyyhd, an editor who single-handedly inspired the edits you literally just saw. Her montages are exclusively made in 3D, meaning she would painstakingly model and reanimate each and every shot all by herself.
That's why I couldn't see.
Many of us played and created because of the ones who came before. That edit she made was one dedicated to her late mentor. And in turn, it's Nikki's edits of Montages clips that first got me into learning 3D. Her larger influence outside these games speaks to a greater idea, that the creative seeds these games once planted have only since bloomed elsewhere. For better or for worse.
Get off the fucking game and do your husband dishes, bitch!
But editing? Fuck editing. I hate editing. What about the best clips? Rock montages were made by some of the best teams out there, those who focused less on edits than the insane clips their players hit. At the tippy top was Exalt, a clan of schmucks who didn't just hit quad feeds, but 5-ons, 6-ons, quad feeds in one bullets. Their trilogy of montages acted as benchmarks, raising the bar higher and higher, and yet there's only one member who I want to talk about. This is Kings. His profile picture was a goat. This guy knew who he was. His sniping was among the best, and yet he went for shit that the rest never even thought to think of. He hit whatever the fuck clip this is. His ideas were the most creative of any player I'd seen, and he made an entire series of montages with them, each named after a different Slipknot album. His shit was album length. It was completed over 2 years and edited entirely using Sony Vegas, just like this section. Is what I would have said if this whole fucking video wasn't made in Vegas. Why? 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 Vegas was the first software I used to make montages. I mean, I made some before that, but I was 14 when I made Depression, my magnum opus. It was a sequel to Acceptance, and the second video in a series named after the 5 stages of grief. I accidentally started it in reverse order for whatever reason I had at the time. You could tell just how much of a Kings fanboy I was. I knew I wanted to end this thing with a closer, you know, a banger that would stick in the mind of a viewer. I remember running around in hardcore, praying to hit like a swap 6-on or something, and in the process, I hit this instead. The crazy part wasn't even the gameplay, but the fact that I was playing on this layout. It was made for those who were left-handed, and here I was trying to aim in when I hit that no-scope. At the time, I thought that clip was once in a lifetime, lucky enough that it would never be hit by anyone else. I was so excited. I'm sure if you go back, there's players then who felt the same way about their own montages, with clips that are even more obsolete by today's standards. And despite it all, I think that younger version of me still rung true. Because as much as clips got better, my standards got higher, nothing came close to the feeling of my first 6-on. Not even that closer. All my friends mocking my reaction, or the time I showed them Depression when I finished it. Upon watching the greatest videos of that era, all the excitement those players had for their first 6-ons or quad feats, it didn't matter. I don't think montages were originally about clips or standards. No, it was the memories behind them, immortalized, left unchanged in these videos. Montages were about the times we couldn't live the same way we first did. Okay, I was gonna do like a South Park style for the bit, please. I know I look stupid right now, but don't make fun of me, okay? It's safe to say that the COD scene is more than a little bit. Pretty much any ist or ick you can name. We know that COD is toxic, but I want to talk a bit about how that affects these games and their art. I've spent a lot of this script comparing montages with music. Montages sync to music, and how I discovered a love for music was through montages. I see both as intertwined, and to me, music as an art has always been about expression and acceptance. With the right context, any sound can be a means for experimentation. It's normal to develop a taste for genres and expressions we may not be used to. Some of the songs in this video are from queer artists, and some of the most innovative ideas have been paved from their efforts within just the past few years alone. Montages have barely changed within the past decade. The sniping and trickshotting scenes played by the same standards, the same music. People left the same comments on the few trying shit different. That the clips were unusable, the music was bad, the video was over-edited, that shit was just better the way it was before. I'm gonna ask a weird question. Can you name one COD creator who openly identifies as queer? You know, like gay, bi, trans, anything like that? In my time of playing, I was only able to think of one person, a sniper, established in the scene for well over a decade, and yet I feel like we know why I can't mention them by name. It's the same reason why you can't name one of your own. It's because of shit like this.
Struggling against the trans game. There's no such thing as trans people.
Call of Duty community and stuff like that. The rampant, like, homophobia that's happening there. Rampant, just like...
It's the biggest creators in the scene, all the way to the publishers of the games. You couldn't name someone because most wouldn't risk being named. This is a problem across all of gaming. COD is just especially behind. And we know it's as bad as it is because the hate is even more blatant against other identities that can't be hidden. But in my own growth as a teen who played COD, I often carried the same insensitivity they did. You can see it in my clan tags, the emblems I made. Shit like this was common when you'd make your friends laugh with the most outrageous shit possible. It bled into comments I'd leave, it bled further into my art. It took me being affected for me to realize how things intended as jokes could be normalizing harm. Of how me and my friends could now joke about everything and yet not talk about anything. How insecure I was, or what I was going through. It felt easier to not give a shit if it meant I could be accepted by my peers. It was easier when I felt my acceptance was a given. That shit was just better the way it was before. If you're not getting the parallel that I've been trying to draw here, empathy and creativity are intertwined. It's not cause and effect, but you can't have one without some of the other. The same words we use to build community are the same tools we use to innovate art. To accept different people is to allow for unique ideas. To end at a joke is to kill an idea before it could even become one. Fearing openness was a cage to my own expression, and so I see it as no coincidence that one of the most toxic gaming communities out there is host to some of the least innovative games and art imaginable. And frankly, I think this is hypocritical. For a scene that's so quick to stomp on innovation, quickscoping began as something new and innovative to sniping. Trickshotting is cooler, more unique than quickscoping. Montages were once celebrated for innovation, but now they're just static. The games repeat the same cycle every year. Montages have only continued to relive the past. I don't want to blame the montage scene for a lot of this, though. The ones who've kept creating now seem the most supportive. I can really only speak for my own time in the scene. As much as they haven't innovated in the ways I've wanted them to, their standards have managed to preserve a lot of what originally made COD so unique from other art mediums. In reality, art and innovation have always had to contend with a lack of support from the wider community and the games themselves. Montages were an exception. Most efforts have failed to make it off the ground. If I think about it, I feel like editing was the one place the art was able to move on. All the most influential, memorable moments I used to watch through the styles of editors. Editing continues to push the boundary, influencing in and out of the community as episodes continue to catch up. And yet those same comments appeared on all those edits that inspired me. As time would have it, none of these guys do it anymore. They've all left to other games, other mediums where their art evolved, was more incentivized. Despite all their influence, COD's relationship with editing was kind of the most hypocritical. But on a similar note, I have a bit of a theory as to where at least some of that hate might have started out. What if I told you there was a community who paved the road for their techniques, their styles, a group that COD fucking hated, one they routinely shat on over and over, all while being arguably one of their biggest influences? Oh yeah, I'm picking the mic up for this one.
My blue period is orange, compliments to the pennies. Ram cycle, PM snoring, marks the end of my sentence. This old house is all that I have, but the decimal is saying so they need a new tenant. Shackle demons behind bars, the plan, but lolly it hiding the key won't tell. Facing the crime descent, he excel. Weigh in on my intellect, keto 141. Me and Tanica fight dimes, 575 times. Haiku, annotate syllables. Translate the time a dub was an L. Split the two sides, colors close on the cell. Finding who lies when the spoon holding fell. About to OG, had to do sell out. He's near, where's mellow when that light go out? Had a dream about a girl. Question what man Japan fine as hell. Finds all my signs, mine's ASL. She said can be right. Okay, you may.
Okay, I know that last part of the song sounded kind of weird, and the next part is gonna be really weird, so just, it's a metaphor, just bear with me.
Dark red, in front of me static. Don't pull back, one of my bad habits, I'm lazy. I still rap while the two sides chase me. Score 0-1 where the truth lies. Assembly, Gemini rise, replace me. Composed by Neri decides you two-face me. Save the game, let me ride on my death though. No heaven or hell, cause the death god says so. Arrest my cardiac, watch my dead flow. A test, but you feel that 40 whole seconds from now.
This old house.
This old house is all that I have, but I ain't paid rent, so I meet the lieutenant. Oh, I'm captain now, name your price. My fire sold out, but blood still suffice. The key opens now, the truth lies inside. Despite this old house, AMVs reside. Accentry, 1, Pandora, E-R-I-D, N-A, Fanta, F-Y-C, Fenders, Umika, R-I-P, and so head Quaker. That's like quick draw, he's been D-R, m.a.d, Reaps, Eben, Nikki, Mira, Dreams, even these days inspired. This day's pre-07, that period in time when anime and card was two house divide. Before insecure resentment of all kinds, before G-Shot that Zerg risen top, before Storm and joined the vision and kept lies, before they kept lies, before they go state, before they serve time denied, before the two sides collide, you felt the shame, before this old house left the mark on the game. Yeah.
How the fuck are you gonna call anime cringe when there's nothing more AMV than an iReaps montage? Let's both face it, okay? Cringe fucking made you, dude.
While working on this video, I randomly got the urge to go back and play COD again. Now, the gameplay you're gonna be seeing is a recreation of that moment on PC with Black Ops 3, but when I booted up my PS4 and went to play it again, I only had BO4 installed. Anyway, it was after opening the game, when I went to my friends list, that I immediately got that weird unfamiliarity that I think we've all seen at some point. Names I hadn't remembered in years. People I used to talk to in VCs. That one dude I spent like 6 months trying to beat in a 1v1, who was probably also spending those 6 months trying to groom me. And while I expected to feel like I was right at home, back to those good old days, something felt a bit off. I didn't pay it any mind though. I queued for snipers only, got a game of Hacienda, still don't know why people vote Hacienda, and then whipped out my Locus, which took me like 500 supply drops to actually get. Oh, my shot was way off now. I had to fuck around with my sensitivity for a bit. Missed some more, 10-10. But eventually, I started hitting shots again. It wasn't happening right away, but not enough. Who am I kidding? I was sniping just like old times. I was hitting hard scopes, drag scopes, quick scopes even. I turned a corner, I got 1, I got 2, 3, and then I died. I died. I could have just hit a quad feed my first game on. I mean, it would have been split, I thought to myself. I think I legit laughed out loud after thinking something so dumb and trivial at the time. And then I started to cry. Not like a little bit either. No, I had to get up out of my chair just to let it all out. Like a genuine grief. There was more than just the game I was thinking about. As I got up and looked around my room, I saw now just how little it resembled itself. Funny, I hadn't noticed that before. A frantic walk up the stairs, and the backyard covered in boxes. No, the whole house staged for potential buyers. There were weeks before that date, but this was the home I'd lived in for as long as I knew. It didn't come as a shock, though. In many ways, it felt overdue. At times like these, games were my way of coping, to block out whatever was happening around the house. I still remember one session, when the volume out of my headset finally started to seep in. I thought it was just the game at first, until I recognized my mom's anger. It wasn't weird for my dad to be quiet during arguments, but I didn't hear him at all, and I couldn't shake this feeling of severity. I wanted to check on them, you know, to make sure they were okay. And as I turned towards the kitchen, I could finally feel the harshness in her voice. No obstructions of the drywall, of the basement ceiling, getting louder, more echoed, and then a crash. I met my sister in the kitchen, both of us staring down that same hallway, at my mom, at the vestibule, and at the wooden chair that now laid beside the newly shattered front door. It took a minute for us to piece together the events behind that image. My mom never got physical before. She never did again. It wasn't thrown at my dad. He was far down the driveway by that point. And when I heard why she got so mad, I wasn't surprised. Neither of them surprised me at this point, but the cracks in that door never went away. My dad was never let back in the house again. Soon after, he sold it, not living in the house that he owned. And finally, it was over. We were moving. That was it. I didn't realize it when I started, but I think the video was an excuse. A way to justify this want to play these games again. To go back to that old way of coping. This need to relive old, cherished memories. To feel at home. And this was the moment I realized that time had already left. Back in the moment, I suddenly remembered that excuse. The thing, the video, and quickly took a 15-minute SharePlay recording of that last BO4 game I played. Still tears in my eyes. That video now sits somewhere on my PS4, locked away in some box, some warehouse. I was always playing these newer games, hoping to get a glimpse of the older ones. I got that wish. These were the old ones. Hell, even in that gameplay, in the one I'm using right now, it's that same fucking thing these games had always been to me. Just a shoddy recreation of an old feeling. The reality I confronted that day was one where I would never be able to feel like my younger self. I think that's what really hurt. That the kid in me was still there, and it felt like I had just lost the last way to reach back to him. And it wasn't because the games changed. No, they certainly did, but I was different now. I didn't belong here anymore. And before I even noticed that very thing, I wasn't allowed back in. A familiar song echoes as those last words from earlier fade away. For the first ever time, we finally peer behind that door, where, on a table, 2 shakers of salt and pepper. Bay Village was an edit released in 2016, and the impression it left with me still lingers even now. Similar to his previous work, Reese combined these really atmospheric 3D transitions with a poem hidden between all those effects, but unlike Salt and, the poem here is far more stream of conscious and much more hidden. Some text is only up there for frames. Other pieces are completely unintelligible, and if that didn't make it clear already, then what those words actually read should tell you their meaning was likely something we were never meant to see. Before I go on, this edit seems to describe an intense situation involving very real people. I feel comfortable talking about that reality only to the level that it lets all of us appreciate the art that Reese has made, but treat my interpretations of those events as speculation at best. From what I could make out, the poem reads, "Now I remember the pain of November," with falling letters that spell out hate, and for a frame, she's a fucking nightmare. Dead on 3rd. More bruises, Reese? Sorry, am who I am. Turns out I'm not so crazy. If only. Fuck her till she dead. And I sure as fuck won't make it past December. Wear my heart with a safety pin. I'm so sorry. At this point, the names of dozens of editors flood the screen. Limp till you have no limbs left. An image of a gashed arm holding 3 X's, the words, "Now it's alright, I've had enough of this life." I'm not confident in a lot of what's being depicted here, but after combining the poem with that of Salt and, we're likely being told an anecdote through metaphor. The shaker being knocked down, the posthumous imagery and lyrics within the songs used, I think we're meant to gather that if Salt is Reese, then Pepper may have left us one November. In other words, Salt and wasn't just a poem, rather a letter to her. The imagery of X's being crossed out could be a play on X, or a lot of different imagery for that matter, with dead on 3rd either an exact date or a 3rd X crossed out. The picture isn't that simple though. More than just guilt, Reese also felt anger towards her and maybe also himself. Aspects of the poem indicate he may have even turned to past a point he even seemed to struggle to take her at her word, and perhaps that is where much of his guilt really lies. And it's on those harrowing words of the poem, alluding to some greater nuance, the full events behind those real feelings exposed. The video ends. Just cuts to black. And the music keeps playing for another 2 minutes. You might be disappointed to find out this edit was scrapped. I know I felt something really similar at the time, but looking back, I can't say I fault Reese for this. This is still one of the most impactful pieces of art I've experienced, delivering incredibly complex emotions, just some of what he must have felt, in a way well ahead of its time. I don't even think that time is now, and based on its reception in 2016, with that community we know all too well, it either fell on ears that were too deaf or careless to hear what it had to say. In my own selfish opinion, though, whenever I go back and watch this edit, I feel I can relate. With the poem, no, but with that abrupt ending. I never finished that montage series I started. The furthest I got was bargaining, the 3rd stage, and my biggest project up until that point. The clips I hit for it were some of my most creative, and the editing was supposed to be that, but I gave up on that idea. My friends were never a fan of montages. They hardly got any views at a time when I was trying to take YouTube more seriously, and playing COD outside of clips, no, there was far better out there to do. I wasn't aware of how much depth was behind that video I had seen years ago. Sometimes I wonder if I did know, if I would have been inspired enough to go back and finish that series. Inspiration was that thing that always brought me to these games. Hell, it's that inspiration that led to this very video. But going back to the games themselves, we know how that turned out. I'm not dumb enough to miss the irony that making a series about grief was itself a way to cope, and that its unfinished state became the one thing short of me moving on from these games. In a sense, this video is yet another way to do that, but it's in working on this thing, I can confidently say that I don't need to finish it. Because at every turn, that's exactly what montages were to me. These games that were static, that felt incomplete at each release, never even reaching the heights of the older ones. A medium that transformed these games in a way to escape in a stagnant community and deal with grief, with that crack in the door. What was itself an ending that left loose ends, but felt equally as fitting and inevitable. It's all those things that speak to me in that video, in the one that ended halfway through, and maybe I've tried in spite of everything to not let this one end that same way. The first home console I ever owned was the Wii. I remember playing the new Mario that Christmas, shaking the Wiimote to throw my cousins any chance I got. I was 7 at the time. Montages weren't really a thing. YouTube was only a couple years old, and without a platform to put it on, you could see my love for games and art even back then. Maybe it's because games were an escape in a similar way, but really, I think I was inspired by anything new I could share with others. Gaming was new to me and my cousins at that age. Montages were new at a time when an escape is what I needed the most. It's only when people got older, when games got older, that my need for art grew too. It's when those things changed at home that my need to escape did too. And it's when we changed that need for escape and the ways we do, that we begin to lose sight of the people we once were. The way I see it, the Call of Duty I knew is long dead, and that decay began well before I even started playing. I always wanted the scene to make some real, profound art, but those standards, that same community, it's the same things that made it what it was that got in the way. Still, that wasn't how I always used to feel. I remember the magic of that first game of Hijacked, of me opening the PlayStation on my birthday, the first online friends I ever made. I remember those dreams of joining FaZe, those clips I never hit, or that split 6-on I did, and that cringy reaction I'll have to remember forever now. I remember playing other games, playing with other friends. I remember when I turned off that PS4 for the last time, and I put it in a box after it kept making me remember. And then I remembered my first video, and that montage that started it all. I don't think I'll ever forget that kid who once loved these games. And maybe that's what makes saying goodbye so difficult. I know it's cringy. I know it's dumb. It's fucking stupid to care so much about a series of videos on games so trivial, and even still, I can't help but miss that kid I'll never meet the same way again. I miss montages, but I'm moving on. For real this time.
I'm not crying. You're crying. It's just, I was gonna end this video with a montage of my own, but let's be honest, I'd rather play Russian roulette with a fully loaded chamber than buy the new Modern Warfare game, okay? And what else is there? Valorant? The Riot game? It's not like I'm gonna sit here and spend a month editing a Roblox montage or something like that.
all on my tongue.